Yo, what it is, YouTube? It's your boy DC coming back with another bullseye of a video here today on the channel. I wanted to show you guys an interesting concept, how to use these certain type of plugins to really squeeze a vocal and get the juice out of it. You know, this idea of using like low level type of squeezing type of plugins, it reminds me of orange juice or any type of fruit that you have, right? Sometimes in order for you to get the juice, you got to squeeze something. Imagine that to be your voice is like the fruit. You want the goodness to come out. So that's what we're going to go over today. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. You like this video, well, check the links down below and support the channel. Here we go. Let's get to listening. Let's get to these gems.
I know the way you feeling. Of this being you, all I see this evening. You too sweet, baby, let out those demons. I'm pouring up, baby, tell me what you want. I just think you need some right there. What's it gonna take to get somewhere? I know when I see some real. I get lost again, I get lost in the moment. Oh snap, you the missing piece I need. I got new Van Cleef for me.
All right, really dope vocal that we're working here with today. So most importantly, you know, sometimes you can find yourself in a situation where you want your vocals to be more upfront, you know, or you might feel like they're sitting a little bit too back in the mix. You don't want your vocals to be a chill guy all the time where it's just laying back, it's really timid, it's not trying to stand out. You know, a lot of times artists, they want their lead vocals to pop out in the front, you know? So that's where this idea comes from, you know, and I want to talk about how I learned this idea. First, it was like a CLA 1176, you know? I always noticed that people use the all buttons in mode to always get presence. And I was starting to ask myself, like, why the hell do people always use that? You know, since the beginning of learning music, and I realized it was because of the low level enhancement ability. You know, like sometimes people might have like, you know, like a room mic or something like that, or overheads, or they want to bring out the low level detail of something. So they use a CLA 76 because it has the saturation that's going to make you hear the stuff that you can't really hear like that. And it also has the super pumping compressor that's squeezing the hell out of the, whatever signal you putting it in. So it makes it sound more forward. All right. So let's look at this. This is the original concept that I kind of learned from this.
I know the way you feeling. Of this being you, all I see this evening. You too sweet, baby, let out those demons. I'm pouring up, baby, tell me what you want. I just think you need some right there. What's it gonna take to get somewhere? I know when I see some real. I get lost again, I get lost in the moment. Oh snap, you the missing piece I need. I got new Van Cleef on me, CC frames, mirror jeans, even got Gucci on me. I know I'm
so you kind of hear that even the fact that I didn't do an EQ move, it kind of makes things sound more present. Okay, why would it make it sound more present? Because it took the orange, which is the vocal, and it squeezed it. So now that we squeezed the orange, now the pulp and the orange juice is starting to come out a little bit. All right, cool. So that's where the first time I ever learned it from, right? And you know, the CLA 76 is a limiter, you know, it's a compressor slash limiter. So there's other ways that you can apply this concept, right? It's checking for limiters, right? And I know another great limiter that can bring out vocal presence is something like a Faraday limiter. You know, you can use limiters to pinch your vocal, kind of like how you would use a limiter to pinch your mix to make it louder, right? But let me show you this though. I always get on this plugin and I always do this, you know? I start with like a fast attack, a fast release, like typical compressor settings with a high ratio. And I just try to get 1 to 2 dBs and I always level match it. The same threshold is the same in and out.
I know the way you feeling. Of this being you, all I see this evening. You too sweet, baby, let out those demons. I'm pouring up, baby, tell me what you want. I just think you need some right there. What's it gonna take to get somewhere? I know when I see some real. I know the way you feeling. Of this being you, all I see this evening. You too sweet, baby, let out those demons. I'm pouring up, baby, tell me what you want. I just think you need some right there. What's it gonna take to get somewhere? I know when I see some real. I get lost again, I get lost in the moment. Oh snap, you the missing piece I need.
Very smooth limiter. And even when it's on like 2 dBs or 3 dBs, it still sounds very good and musical. So most importantly though, is that imagine it to be like an Amazon package. Once you're squeezing this thing, now it's easier to move it around, right? Now it's easier to bring and move the vocal to the front of the mix because you've ever so slightly pinched it. So that's another way you can apply this, thing, right? Another plugin that helps you learn this concept even more is how can I take the low level, which is already there, and enhance it. Is something like the Waves MV2. So when I use a plugin like this to get upfront lead vocals, I'll only pinch it a dB at the top and a dB at the bottom, or maybe like a dB or two. Whatever it is, it's usually level matched, right? And just because you're squeezing it, it just kind of helps things come out more, okay? Like if you had like a scar or something like that, or you cut yourself, once you start pinching it, what starts to come out more? The blood. You feel me? So imagine that, the more pressure that you're applying to the lead vocal, it's forcing the lead vocal to pop out even more, So that's a good way of getting it without having to use EQ, getting your vocals to come up front, is by squeezing them ever so slightly.
I know the way you feeling. Of this being you, all I see this evening. You too sweet, baby, let out those demons. I'm pouring up, baby, tell me what you want. I just think you need some, it's right there. What's it gonna take to get somewhere? I know when I see some real. I get lost again, I get lost in the moment. Oh snap, you the missing piece I need. I got new Van Cleef on me, CC frames, Miri jeans. Even got Gucci on me, I know I'm salty. Even got that BB on my belt, I bet you feel it. Don't make me walk away from you. I could teach you a thing or two. I can see in your eyes, you've been hurt, but
so then it starts to feel like pure lemon juice. Not that lemon juice that's been watered down, but more concentrate is what I would use the word for. It just feels like more of a concentrated, blend. You feel me? Just because you're squeezing and pinching that vocal, you're putting more emphasis on the mid-range. And usually, most of the times, what the area of a vocal that helps it sound more forward is in this area right here, which is the mid-range. Right, so yeah, you can also use the EQ to boost it, but I feel like using limiters or low-level enhancement tools is a great way to, pizza, scrunch it in between the walls, completely crush it, and because that now you've kind of crushed it, you've kind of made it more obvious what's there in the mix. Yeah, so usually this area in the Ks, 1K all the way to, I would say somewhere around like 5K, 6K, that's like the character of the vocal. So we're using it like Michael Jordan, pretty much just plug in the isolated, or Kobe Bryant, the isolated one-on-one, and start to bring it out, It's like a basketball player who's bad at defense. When they isolate the player that's bad at defense, now everybody says he's been exposed. Now everybody sees that he's a bad defender, right? So it's the same thing about the vocals. I'm just trying to isolate it one-on-one, so now you can be like, whoa, that mid-range of the vocal is really popping out. Now I really hear his vocal character. Another plugin like that applies the concept of enhancing low-level detail is the Ozone Clarity. You watch how it uses expansion to bring more presence.
I know the way you feeling. Of this being you, all I see this evening. You too sweet, baby, let out those demons. I'm pouring up, baby, tell me what you want. I just think you need some, it's right there. What's it gonna take to get somewhere? I know when I see some real. I get lost again, I get lost in the moment. Oh snap, you the missing piece I need. I got new Van Cleef on me, CC frames, Miri jeans. Even got Gucci on me, I know I'm salty. Even got that BB on my belt, I bet you feel it. Don't make me walk away from you. I could.
All right, so this plugin is even doper a lot because it's an intelligent plugin. It knows where the harshness is at. You're pinching out that mid-range, so there is going to be some of the harsh frequencies that come out, whether you use a compressor, whether you use a limiter. And that's why a lot of times after 1176, you might see me hit, after using this method of pinching a vocal, pinching it like a grandma, right? I might just, use the EQ after the fact, to kind of fix it up. After your grandma's pinched you on your cheeks, then she might pat you off, dust you off, clean you off. You feel me? Type of situation. So I like this plugin because it's an intelligent plugin. It knows that, okay, I'm boosting shit. So there is going to be a harshness as a byproduct. So it makes sure that it goes in there and gets rid of that harshness. And it's calibrated towards, I think, pink noise or brown noise or white noise, something like that. So it knows what's harsh and what's good sounding, all right? And the last plugin that I wanted to really give a shout out to is the Ozone Maximizer. And I mean, this is kind of like a wild card. Maybe a lot of people wouldn't use it on a vocal. But, I'm the type of guy where I will use the Ozone Maximizer on a vocal. I'll link the limiter because this is a limiter, and I'll just use the upwards compressor on that bit.
I know the way you feeling. Of this being you, all I see this evening. You too sweet, baby, let out those demons. I'm pouring up, baby, tell me what you want. I just think you need some right there. What's it gonna take to get somewhere? I know when I see some real. I get lost again, I get lost in the moment. Oh snap, you the missing piece I need. I got new Van Cleef on me, CC frames, Miri jeans. Even got Gucci on me, I know I'm salty. Even got that BB on my belt, I bet you feel it. Don't make me walk away from you. I could teach you a thing or two. I can see in your eyes, you've been hurt before. I know the way you feeling. Of this being you, all I see this evening. You too sweet, baby, let out those demons. I'm pouring up, baby, tell me what you want. I just think you need some right there. What's it gonna take to get somewhere? I know when
And that plugin is pretty dope too because it's gonna concentrate the hell out of the vocal using that limiter. So you see how that limiter, it makes the vocal super controlled, super right there in your face. And that's a part of it being in your face. Like if I'm in your face, you feel me? I can't be backing up and moving forward because you couldn't really determine if I'm far away or I'm right directly in your face. So also having a vocal that's steady, steady right in front of you is also a determining factor to things being up front. Okay, so I just want to say thanks a lot for being a great part of my YouTube family. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Check the links down below to support the channel and suggest more video ideas, okay? What's your favorite plugin to get upfront lead vocals? Let me know. Appreciate y'all now, YouTube gang. Peace.